into that darkness peering. Long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting.
Nintendo.
You too will come to understand fear as I have.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. This is a horror game that came out originally for the Nintendo GameCube in 2002. The development team was Silicon Knights, a developer who up until that point had one great game under their belt. That game was Blood Omen: Legacy of Kain, which came out in 1995 or 96, I'm not entirely sure about that. In any case, it came out for the PlayStation and the personal computers at the time, and was quite a success. It was quite loved by critics and the cult following it created around it due to its horror Victorian Gothic themes with vampires and such. After that, Silicon Knights started creating their own little game once again. This time called Too Human, was under development for the Sony PlayStation, but as some of you may know, it came out quite a few years later for the Xbox 360, no less, completely changed from its original concept. Why the big delay? Well, Eternal Darkness was the reason. At some point during Too Human's development, Nintendo acquired Silicon Knights as a second-party developer and put them to work on a sort of an answer to the PlayStation's Resident Evil series, which sold gangbusters and cemented the PlayStation as the go-to console for more mature-themed games. Nintendo then tasked Silicon Knights to produce a counter to that game. That counter was to be Eternal Darkness, developed for the Nintendo 64 originally. However, it was to come out at the tail end of the N64's life, so Nintendo prudently perhaps decided to move development over to the Nintendo GameCube. That gave the developers quite a few more raw power to work with, resulting in higher quality sound as well as the ability to fully realize their vision for the game. Still, the game does retain its marks from its N64 roots, predominantly in the character models in the game, as well as the strange aspect ratio of the cutscenes. You perhaps noticed that the introductory scene was rendered in 4:3 ratio instead of a widescreen 16:9. You will see what I'm talking about as we enter the game. In any case, since the game was to be an answer to Resident Evil, it did what most games did at the time who wanted to compete with it. It copied its mechanics, its basic structure, with subtle changes, which means we still have those preset fixed camera angles to work with. You can also check your brightness here before we begin, so that you enjoy the game properly. In any case, while also altering the focus, instead of a zombie apocalypse or monsters and overt horror with I don't know how to say it, shock value and jump scares, Eternal Darkness went the route of something more sinister, more unique. They chose the route of the cosmic horror as described in the Lovecraft mythos. In many ways, this is a video game adaptation of Call of Cthulhu without the rights, without the copyrights, and all that all that in between. In any case, I've bored you enough. Let's start the game. As you can see, I've already previously completed the game with the following alignments, which means that when we finish the game this time, you will be able to enjoy the true ending of the game. Let's start.
Flesh, bone, bound together with the oddest magical incantation. This wretched book is where it all began so long ago. Before time, before humanity. I am Dr. Edward Roivas. I am a clinical psychologist. I am also dead. This is not my story, nor even the story of the Roivas family. It is the story of humanity. Like it or not, believe it or not, as you will. Your perceptions will not change reality, but simply color it. Humanity has been on the edge of extinction for 2 millennia, ignorant of so much and dependent on so few. The Guardians grow restless, their time once again near. Whether by fate or misfortune, my family has crossed their path, and they didn't take kindly to it. Their attention turns to my granddaughter, for she is the last of my line, and the last hope for humanity.
You can see some of the emulation problems we have with this game. It was either this green flash when the game does its transitions from parchment to gameplay, or play the game in the original resolution, making it look horribly pixelated. I chose the green solution. In any case, we're stuck in a hellhole, not unlike a Resident Evil game, armed with a shotgun, a beautiful girl, and plenty of zombies to shoot. Oh crap, I'm out of ammo.
Remember me, Alex?
Hello?
Miss Alexandra Roivas?
Yeah, who's this?
This is Inspector LeGrasse of the Rhode Island Police. I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's been an accident with your grandfather.
I'll be on the next flight out.
Ah, Miss Roivas. I'm pleased to meet you. I trust you had a pleasant trip?
Yes, I suppose so, considering.
Yes, my condolences. This is most unpleasant. It's a shame we couldn't meet under brighter circumstances.
Yes, it is. Can we get this over with, please?
Of course, this way. But I must warn you, it's not a pleasant sight. I'm afraid there's not much to see. Miss Roivas, is that your grandfather, Edward?
Yes, it's him. He's wearing our family ring. I don't understand. Why are you showing me this? Can't you check dental records or something? What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. It's my job, lady. You're the only living relative, and no, we can't check dental records. There's no head. None of this makes sense. There's no sign of intrusion, and there was certainly a lot of force used here. I have never seen anything like this in my 20 years on the force. We have no evidence except for the body, and what's left doesn't say much. Ugh, we don't have a single clue.
Well, you better find out who did this. I'm not leaving Rhode Island until you do. There must be some clue in this old mansion revealing what happened. I want answers.
So do I. I wish I had some.
Two weeks later, then, shocked and by her grandfather's mysterious death, and frustrated at the incompetence of the local police, Alex vows to uncover the truth. She decides to search the mansion, the place where Edward conducted his research. If there was a tie to his past, and possibly a tie to his murderer, it would be here. Because of course, Alexandra, nothing could possibly go wrong with you being all alone in such a huge mansion. You can already see the influences of Resident Evil from the first scene inside the game. Mansion foyer, with stairs leading upstairs. However, as you can see, the game is in full 3D this time, not pre-rendered. Alright, Alexandra, I think we should do the sensible thing and just get out of here. The call of the mansion beckons to Alex, drawing her back to uncover the family secrets it hides. Alex will not live till she has learned what happened to her grandfather. The call of the mansion, It sounds almost like the mansion has a will of itself. I'm sure nothing bad will happen, though. One thing that makes this game really unique is the incredible sound design. Watch this, as I near the window, we will start hearing the sounds of outside. The last weak rays of sunlight fight the shroud of darkness. It lends an eerie feel to the last few weeks' events. As the sun sets, Alex will be alone in this house, with nothing but the spirits of old for company. Alright, time to see what we have with us. Check our inventory. As you can see, we can use, equip and check things just like in Resident Evil. Pressing L and R will allow us to go through the different pages. We can have a map, which we can rotate, U, zoom in, zoom out and such. We have the gallery of all the cutscenes we've seen so far, the options. We have the key to the second floor. But let's go check it out. Portraits of the ancestral Roivas line the foyer walls. Their faces reveal a dark, brooding edge. There is something about each one that gives a viewer an unsettling feeling. Door is locked, but we can use the second floor key to unlock it. Or not. The key comes apart in the lock. The key to the second floor is broken. Perhaps there is a way of repairing it. Well, if there is, we don't have a clue how. Portraits. Ah, yes, of course. This is another portrait. Quite brooding, these portraits. Quite somber, you could say. What else do we have here? Another portrait and another locked door, I think. Yes. Perhaps we'll find a way to open it later. For now, let's check out the other side. What's this? A wooden plaque is fastened to the door, taking the place of the lock. A colored sigil is carved into the wood above a wide slot. The slot is just wide enough to insert a narrow blade. Well, we have neither narrow blade or anything of the sort. This looks like a dining room, and here, the flames are another relic of the N64 days of the game. We can live with them, though. The rest of the game more than makes up for it. Nothing else to check out here. Let's turn back. Let's see what's behind those double doors over there. Ah, some more emulation glitches in the lens flare here. A grand piano stands here, awaiting the hands of a decent musician. Unfortunately, Edward never really lived up to that description, and as such, the piano fell into disuse. Edward was probably a scholar more than anything. The table is set for one, Alex's grandfather. Edward's private nature meant that he never had many visitors, and this is the lonely evidence of it. Quite honestly, it seems strange that 2 weeks later, this still is as it was. And what's this? The illustration features a collection of strange line designs, related to each other in a cyclical manner. There appears to be some significance to it, but it isn't particularly evident. Believe me, however, when I say that significance will become quite evident as we proceed. The last thing of note in this foyer is this. A beautiful carriage clock. The hands appear to be stuck, yet the clock continues to tick, with the time permanently set to 3:33. There is a key in the back of the clock, presumably for winding it. Let's take a look. Alex picks up the desk clock and pulls the key from it. However, there is something odd about the key. It isn't for winding it at all. It looks like a dresser key. And the clock continues to tick, and the hands never move. Let's proceed to the library. And this door. This is an observatory of sorts. As you can see, there's a large telescope. We can examine this, which is a crank socket mounted in the telescope, and appears to be linked to a mirror supported by a brass pedestal. A curious contraption, to be sure. What purpose can it possibly serve? We can try to adjust it, but nothing will happen. Because as we can see here, obviously an antique, the telescope stands testament to Edward's eclectic taste. Its lensed eye stares emptily at the ceiling, as if awaiting future use. And we have that strange moon-shaped design up there on the observatory. And this here. A globe cradled in a wooden frame. Its glossy surface is painted in the likeness of an ancient map. A lens is situated in the northern hemisphere above a label that reads, "There be dragons here." Nothing else we can do here, though. Let's move on. In the warm glow of candlelight, the Roivas family tree hangs from the wall. Shadows flicker across its surface, obscuring the detail. If one looks closely, the family's secrets are revealed. If you paid attention at the beginning, this is where Alexandra first saw her grandfather. The books in this corner seem to focus on the supernatural, the writings of Poe, Lovecraft, the poetry of Blake, the art of Bosch. Everything with a tie to ethereal horror or fantasy. It is all here. A reference library to the arcane. Was this Alex's grandfather's secret hobby? And here we are. The place seems quite clean now. This should be a private study of sorts, with an empty fireplace. And another eerie portrait. This is the only place of interest in here. This looming grandfather clock seems to stand ominously in the corner, gazing on this empty room with an almost patriarchal air. We can adjust the clock hands, and the time should be set to 3:33, just like the clock in the foyer. You have to be quite precise, though. There we go. The door opens. As the secret door opens, rather, leading to a small corridor, down which we can find this. A secret study, full of arcane and occult things. There's a book on the desk there, beckoning. Before we set our eyes on it, though, we should take a look around the room itself. Let's see what we can find. A small shrine of candles. Their placement appears to be very deliberate, matching the etchings on the table and the wall's illustration. The candles are unlit. A diabolic drawing of a stack of human bodies, each one cemented into place. What twisted psyche could have executed this drawing? Though disturbing, it is meticulously rendered down to the subtlest detail. The precise anatomy of fractured bones and the convolutions of spines and ribs entwine into a mesmerizing sight. Well, that's quite the conversation piece, I think. What's this? An ancient Roman weapon. A gladius is on display above the fireplace mantel. Another token of eclectic junk. However, this is not above Alexandra's tastes. So she procures the gladius. This is a gladius, the standard weapon of the Roman army. A short, double-edged sword with a sharp, triangular point. The gladius was designed primarily for hacking and chopping at the enemy, but could be used to pierce armor as well. This is a bizarre drawing of a cyclopean city, its immense architecture bathed in an unnatural fog. The detail is incredible. As Alex studies it, she can almost imagine the city's inhabitants. And what have we here? A painting of a jungle-shrouded building. It seems to be a temple in Asia, perhaps from Thailand or Cambodia. This looks like some kind of mask. The face is serene in composure, with a faint hint of a smile tugging at the corners of the mouth and eyes closed in deep meditation. This Gothic cathedral is silhouetted against its stark light. The image is vicious and devoid of subtlety. Every brush stroke echoes the spikes of the architecture, imbuing a violent feeling as though the building itself is a harsh imposition on reality. A grim picture, indeed. I really like these descriptions. And what's this? An aged page, set inside a glass frame, hands on the wall. An insane scribbling covers the page, incomprehensible to Alex. Perhaps, if Alex had some kind of tome, it could be deciphered. You mean, like that tome? What possible translation could that tome provide to the insane arcane scribblings on that page over there? Well, I think we'll find out next time. For now, thank you for watching and enjoying this twisted menu with me. And the game itself, of course. And I hope to see you next time as we continue through eternal darkness. Till then, like, subscribe, leave a comment below to tell me your opinion about this, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.